What you're about to hear is the tragic story of Yoon, a 24-year-old TikTok influencer whose promising life was cut short in September 2025. This case sent shockwaves through South Korea and exposed the dark side of social media management. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're covering a case that highlights the dangerous vulnerability content creators can face. Let's get into it.
Yoon was a young South Korean woman living her dream. At just 24 years old, she had built a following of over 300,000 people on TikTok. She wasn't just posting for fun, had real ambitions. She wanted to break into acting and saw social media as her stepping stone into the entertainment industry. Those who knew her described as energetic, genuine, and hardworking. She regularly went live on TikTok, connecting with her fans and sharing parts of her daily life. Her family said she was loving and dedicated, always grateful for the support she received from her followers. She was building something real, something that mattered to her. But like many influencers, Jia's success came with a cost. To grow her platform faster, she needed help, professional guidance, marketing expertise, investment. That's where she made a decision that would ultimately cost her everything. In early 2025, a man in his 50s approached Yoon with an enticing offer. He went by the online nickname Black Cat and presented himself as the CEO of an IT company specializing in helping content creators grow their audiences. His real name was Choi. Korean authorities have not released his full identity publicly, following their legal tradition of protecting suspects' identities during investigations. Choi promised Jia that he could double her follower count quickly. He claimed to be well connected in the industry, an expert who knew all the tricks of social media success. In exchange for his services, he wanted 40% of her earnings from live streams. He also demanded something else: absolute loyalty. For Jia, who dreamed of stardom, this seemed like an opportunity she couldn't pass up. She agreed to the partnership. At first, everything seemed to work exactly as Choi promised. He invested heavily in promoting Jia's TikTok profile. New followers started pouring in, tens of thousands of them. Her engagement rates climbed. The financial returns improved dramatically. In the following months, her follower count more than doubled, eventually surpassing 300,000. Jia appeared to be on the fast track to achieving her dreams. But behind the scenes, something far more sinister was developing. What Yoon didn't know was that Choi was drowning in debt. He owed massive amounts of money to banks and loan sharks. He had even put his house up as collateral for loans, and the bank was threatening to auction it off. Choi wasn't just managing Jia's career, he was depending on her income to keep himself afloat financially. As his desperation grew, Choi's behavior became increasingly controlling and abusive. He imposed strict rules on Jia. She had to do live streams for at least 8 hours every single day. Without breaks, she was required to install a tracking app on her phone so he could monitor her location at all times. She had to follow his instructions without question. According to reports, Jia was generating approximately 50 to 100 million Korean won per month for Choi. That's roughly $37,000 to $75,000. Of all the creators he managed, she was his top earner by far. Friends began noticing that Jia seemed exhausted and stressed. The pressure was clearly taking a toll on her mental and physical health. But she continued, perhaps believing this was just the price of success in the competitive world of social media. In September 2025, Yoon learned the truth about the man she had trusted with her career. She discovered that Choi wasn't really a CEO of any legitimate company. He was essentially a freelancer who had been scamming multiple content creators with false promises. She learned about his crushing debts, about the house he was about to lose, about the loans from dangerous loan sharks. Even more disturbing, she discovered that less than a year earlier, in December 2024, Choi had been arrested for assaulting and kidnapping another female content creator who had tried to end their business relationship. He had beaten the woman and held her hostage in his home for hours. Despite being charged with assault and kidnapping, he had been released on bail. This judicial failure would prove fatal. Armed with this terrifying information, Yoon made the decision any reasonable person would make. She told Choi she was ending their partnership immediately. Choi didn't take it well. He called her ungrateful, reminded her that her success was because of him, begged her to reconsider. But Jia had made up her mind. She stopped responding to his messages and calls. For Choi, this was a catastrophe. Jia wasn't just one creator among many, she was his primary source of income. Without her, his already precarious financial situation would collapse completely. His desperation reached a breaking point. On September 10, 2025, security cameras captured Choi approaching Yoon Jia on a street in Seoul. The footage shows him falling to his knees, begging her not to abandon him. He tried to grab her phone, but she pulled away and left. That same day, Choi's house was officially auctioned off by the bank. He was now homeless, broke, and spiraling. The next day, September 11, 2025, Yoon Jia went to Yeongjang Island to do her regular TikTok live stream. She went live as usual, interacting with her fans, smiling, chatting. At 3 p.m., she ended the stream, thanked everyone for watching, and said goodbye. Her followers had no idea they would never see her alive again. Less than 30 minutes later, at 3:27 p.m., security cameras captured something horrifying. The footage shows Choi forcibly pulling Yoon Jia into his car after what appears to be a heated argument. She struggled, but he overpowered her. What happened next was brutal. In a rage fueled by financial desperation, rejection, and humiliation, Choi assaulted Yoon Jia viciously and then strangled her to death with his own hands. Medical examiners would later estimate her time of death as approximately 3:45 p.m., just 45 minutes after her final live stream ended. After killing Jia, Choi placed her body in a suitcase. Around 6 p.m., he began driving from Seoul to Muju County, a distance of approximately 125 miles. But he didn't drive straight there. According to police reports, he stopped 8 times along the way, going into gas stations, buying items, resting, all in an attempt to appear normal and avoid suspicion. Finally, he arrived at a remote mountainous area in Muju County, North Jeolla Province. He carried the suitcase up a secondary trail covered in dense vegetation, far from any main tourist paths. There, he abandoned Jia's body, partially exposed to the elements. Before leaving Seoul, Choi had discarded Jia's phone in Incheon, about 9 miles from where he had kidnapped her. He also sent text messages from her phone to her family around 10 p.m. that night, claiming she was traveling and they shouldn't worry. But by then, Jia had been dead for hours. When Yoon Jia's family didn't hear from her, they immediately became worried. The text messages about traveling seemed completely out of character. She would never leave suddenly without telling them in advance. They knew something was terribly wrong. The family reported her missing to the Yangon Dongbu police in Seoul. Because Jia was young and a public figure with hundreds of thousands of followers, authorities classified this as a high-risk disappearance and launched an immediate investigation. Police tracked the last signal from Jia's phone to Incheon. They reviewed security camera footage from Yeongjang Island where she had done her final live stream. That's when they saw it, the moment Choi forcibly pulled her into his car. By tracking the license plate and vehicle through multiple security cameras, police quickly identified Choi as the prime suspect. When they looked into his background, they found his previous arrest for assault and kidnapping of another influencer. They tried to locate him at his home, but he no longer had one. The bank had seized it. Choi had gone on the run. On the morning of September 13, 2025, a local worker was walking along a remote trail in Muju when he noticed something strange on the mountainside, a partially open suitcase in a grassy field. When he approached, he saw what was inside, the body of a young woman. He immediately contacted the Muju police, who secured the scene and called in forensic investigators. The body was that of Yoon Jia. The forensic examination revealed the brutality of what had happened to her. Her body was nude from the waist up. She had purple and blue bruises covering her torso and limbs. Deep strangulation marks circled her neck with visible swelling. Her face showed severe injuries including cuts and swelling from repeated punches. Several of her ribs were cracked. There was skin under her fingernails. She had fought back. The lack of deep defensive wounds suggested she had been quickly overpowered. The body showed minimal decomposition, confirming she had been killed within the previous 48 hours. With Jia's body discovered and Choi identified as the killer, police issued a nationwide alert. They traced his movements using highway security cameras, tracking his vehicle's route from Seoul to Muju, including all 8 stops he had made along the way. A massive search involving hundreds of officers was launched in the Muju area. Within hours, Choi was found just a few miles from where he had dumped Jia's body. According to reports, he attempted to flee but was captured without much resistance. When police checked his car's GPS, it confirmed he had followed the exact route they had already traced through security footage. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Initially, Choi denied everything. Then he changed his story, admitting he had met with Jia but claiming he had left her safely in Incheon. But when police informed him they had found her body, he finally confessed. Choi told investigators he had killed Yoon Jia because he was desperate. He said he needed the money from their partnership to pay his debts, which had exceeded billions of Korean won. Without her, he would never escape the financial hole he had dug himself into. He described how he had begged her not to leave him, even kneeling before her on the street. When she refused and he lost his house, he said rage and desperation consumed him. On the day of the murder, he claimed he had only wanted to talk to her, but when she ignored him again, he snapped. Initially, police suspected Choi had also sexually assaulted Jia because her body was partially undressed. However, a comprehensive autopsy determined there had been no sexual assault and no drugs in her system. The forensic evidence was damning. The skin under Jia's fingernails matched Choi's DNA. His fingerprints were on the suitcase containing her body. Fibers from his car seat matched fibers found on the suitcase. Security footage showed him kidnapping her. GPS data confirmed his route to dispose of the body. His own confession tied it all together. On September 16, 2025, Choi appeared at his preventive detention hearing in Muju. The judge approved his detention, citing flight risk and the fact that he was a repeat offender. He was formally charged and transferred to a prison in Seoul without the possibility of bail. The case shocked South Korea. Jia's fans created virtual memorials on TikTok. K-pop fan groups and streamers organized mass vigils with live streams in her honor. A documentary about the case was broadcast by SBS and reached about 7 million viewers, bringing even more attention to the tragedy. In interviews, Yoon Jia's family expressed their devastation and called for the maximum sentence for Choi. They held a private funeral ceremony, attended only by close family and friends. As of now, Choi remains in prison in Seoul awaiting trial. Under South Korean law, if convicted on all charges, he faces life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. But no sentence can bring back Yoon Jia. No punishment can restore the life that was stolen from her at just 24 years old. This case highlights a dark reality in the world of social media influence. Content creators, especially young ones, can become targets for exploitation by people claiming to offer professional management and growth opportunities. Yoon Jia trusted someone who presented himself as a mentor and expert. Instead, she found herself trapped in an abusive, controlling relationship with a desperate man drowning in debt. When she tried to escape, it cost her her life. Her story is a tragic reminder that behind the glamorous facade of social media success, real dangers can lurk. The same platforms that offer opportunities for fame and connection can also expose vulnerable people to predators. What makes this case even more heartbreaking is that it could have been prevented. Choi had already assaulted and kidnapped another woman less than a year before he killed Jia. He was arrested, charged, and released on bail. The system failed to protect his next victim. Yoon Jia deserved better. She deserved to pursue her dreams safely. She deserved to become the actress she wanted to be. She deserved to live. Instead, her final live stream on September 11, 2025, became a tragic farewell, one that none of her 300,000 followers could have imagined would be her last. Rest in peace, Yoon Jia. That's all for today's video. If this case affected you, please take a moment to leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime content. Take care of yourselves and I'll see you in the next one.